Okay. Thank you all for coming today. Every Thursday, as you all know, that we normally take one topic and discuss on the topic on half an hours. Uh, so today's topic is about multitasking. One is the most important thing, that how you can get alone to do so many things together. Multitasking, it's primarily, it's not only about into the business or doing multiple business or doing business and job simultaneously, but is also about how you can do multitasking in your own job, or how you can manage your personal and work life also. Uh, so we are going to discuss a lot of topic in this half an hour's time. So I'm not going to stop in between. And in case you are not able, if you have any query or questions, you can drop down in between the Q&A after the end of the sessions. If we have time, we're going to take it, or I will be dropping a link where you can connect with me later on for any questions or one-on-one discussions that you might be having. Okay, so I move towards my program right now. So it's half an hour program. uh, Multitasking. Well, I told you earlier that probably you might be knowing to a lot of people might be knowing me, that I am into a couple of businesses and other social venture that I am doing, and a lot of people ask me that how I can manage those, all those kind of things. One important aspect that I want to tell you is that multitasking is a myth. You know, there is particularly no such thing as multitasking. You should not be doing multitasking in a way. I'm going to prove you to that. But what is more important is that how you can switch, your brain from one task to another, and that's very important. Because what I mean to say that uh, what is a multitasking? Suppose I am chewing gum. Suppose I am chewing some gum, or I'm listening to music. That's also multitasking. I'm doing two things together. But here, I do not require any work of my brain to do that. But suppose I am doing some work where the brain, cell or brain work has to be done. Brain need to think on those lines, and then I cannot do two things at a time. If I am doing two things at a time, where the brain required a lot of thoughts, analytics, it will not going to accept that, or not going to not going to handle those things. So I am going to tell you that how multitasking can be devastating, and how actually, instead of multitasking, you can switch between one task to another task. You can do a lot of tasks together, but you need to switch from one task to another task. Okay. uh, this presentation is about how you can get along with the multitasking. The myth of multitasking I'm going to discuss. As I said, that there is no word called multitasking. It's about how you can switch between one task to another task. The ultimate guide of to getting more done by doing less. Okay, I just quickly see. I hope my presentation is viewable to all of you. Uh, Last time I have a problem, because okay, so there is no question. I hope that you're all able to see my presentation. Uh, Before going into the what exactly I need to say, that I done a little bit of research on multitasking, and find out that David Mayer, the professor of the psychology at the University of Michigan, says that we simply don't have the brain power to multitask. As I told you earlier, that as long as you're performing complicated tasks that require the some part of your brains, and you need to devote all that capacity for those tasks, they are just aren't going to be resource available to add anything more. Suppose, say for example, that to give you an example, suppose you are driving a car, and you're driving a car. You don't know the exact location. You need to reach there by looking in a GPS in front of you, and you're also on a phone call. So if you're doing a phone call with some of official work, and you're driving also, and where you're navigating your GPS or looking at that, I'm quite sure that you will not be able to get the right turn at right time, because we are doing two things at two times. It is very absolutely difficult to do that. So that's why it is important that you have to accept that you cannot do multitask at two things at a one time. So that's impossible. And if you try to do that, you will be drained out. You will have a lot of stress in your life, and that will be devastated. you know That exactly what happened, that we see a lot of people, they get so much complicated. They take their work to their home and try to do their work in their home also, and having managing all those personal life work life balance. I am not going to discuss those things, and they have this complicated problem. So that's normally happens. So going ahead, I say that Hayward psychologist Matthew Killingworth and Daniel Gilbert found that people spend normally 47% of their waking hour thinking about something other than what they're currently doing, and that has its own associate cost. As author writes, the ability to think about what is not happening, the ability to think about what is not happening is a cognitive achievement that comes at an emotional cost. Okay, you get it right. Uh, Before getting into more details about how you can do multitasking, I'm going to give you three examples of what are the types of multitasking. There are basically three types of multitasking, and like one is the multitasking, attempting to do two or more tasks simultaneously. Second is the context switching. I give an example for that, switching back and forth between two tasks. And third is the attention residue, that is performing a number of tasks in a rapid successions. So I'm going to give you a very brief about each thing. Multitasking, like what doing two things at once does to your brain. When you're doing two things at a time or multiple things at a time, so it impacts your memory. It creates a lot of pressure in your brain, and sometimes you get stressed out also. As I mentioned all those points, I'm not going to details each and every points that lead to an anxiety. It to have it impacts your creative thinking also, stops you from getting into the flow. Suppose if you're doing one work at a time, and you will able to understand the kind of workflow that you will be having in that particular work, the kind of productivity that you will be having in that particular work will hamper if you do two things at a time together. Again, if you do multitasking, you'll have more mistakes and less productivity. So those are the negative point of multitasking, and that's why I say you should not be thinking of doing multitasking. Uh, Context switching. Well, what happens when you bounce between two tasks, right? I am going to give you an example here, right? Suppose if you don't try it right now, because we will have a time constraint here. Suppose if you have a white paper in front of you, you draw two lines, like you draw two horizontal lines, and you can able to understand why I am saying that multitasking should not be doing, because why I'm saying that that switching should be done. This is a point I'm going to mention, context switching, and give you an example for that. Suppose you have a white paper, you draw two straight lines. In the one line, you write that I am a great multitasker. Suppose, say for example, I'm a great multitasker, right? Normal, right? And in the second line, you write like from 1 to 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, right? Now you count how much time it takes to write first line and the second line. Suppose I am a great multitasker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20. Now in a second instances, I give you an example where you write I, you write I am, and then you write 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you go back to a previous line, I'm a great, and then you come back to this thing. So 5, 6, 7, 8. So what you're doing, that you're constantly switching between one things and other things. Now you see the how much time you take to complete the second task. You will be fine. You will find that in second task you will take much longer time. And this is a simple example. And if you find if you're doing other tasks also, if you have other project or involved in other project, you'll find a lot of mistakes that will happen in doing so. So this simple example, I think it makes you very clear that focus in one particular thing is very much important, rather than constantly switching between one thing and other things, right? I will come back to this point because this is the most important point here. And after I finish my third point, third point is, then, as I mentioned, the attention residue, like how multitasking keeps impacting us even once we are switched to another task. First, there is a goal shifting, right? This is where you decide to do one thing instead of another, right? And second, there's a role activation. Suppose you're doing two business. Suppose you are doing two business. You are into a, suppose, say for example, a restaurant business, and suppose at home you are into Mando. You want to do interior designing kind of thing. So you are doing totally different businesses. And what happened that in two different businesses, your role changes, right? Your personal role changes. So if you in one instant point of time, that if you keep doing one thing and then again you do one thing, so that's a role activation change. This is where you change from the rules and context of the previous task to the new one. So that's what is about. Moving ahead, I'm not going to discuss about this thing, multitasking in the workplace, where when there are situations, there are multiple sources of information coming from external world. Because in workplace, you do multitask, right? You see a couple of things. You get communications from a lot of people. So you need to check emails, and then to check IMs, and then to make report writing, and so many things. But basically, in a workplace, when you're doing a multitasking, it is on a one particular things, right? It is all into related to a one particular things. Uh, so as I mentioned, the power of single thinking. Well, this webinar is not about single thinking. This webinar is about multitasking. But I am just coming to the point. Before coming to the point, I just mentioned that what is the power of single task. You all know that it requires less stress. If you do one thing, it less stress. If you if you do one thing, you will have a good flow of the work, and you can make great productivity. And doing one thing at a time can make you more creative also. And testing makes you focus on what you should do. So those are the plus point of single tasking, and we all know that. Now coming to the point that how we can multitask. So I've given a couple of pointers. I'm not going to go as what is written down here. When I say that multitasking, the most important factors which I personally, before getting into those normal structure thing, I personally feel that you need to address the trust factor. If you are in a business, if you are into a business, and if you want to start another business, or if you are into a job and want to start as a side hustle, and imagine in both the scenario, your personal life is intact. So that is another task also. So if you're doing those things, the important thing is that we always try to do everything of our own, right? And why does that happen? Because that exactly happened, that because we don't have the trust towards other people. That's one. And secondly, we feel that if we do the task, uh, my productivity perhaps will be much bigger, much greater than the other person's productivity, and so I can deliver much more better work. There are a couple of other reasons also. So that's why we don't trust people, and we try to do everything of our own and try to multitask everything. And I have already showed you the kind of stress that happen when you do try to do multitask. You have a mental stress, and all those stress coming up. You make a lot of errors. Your family life, your personal life hampers. All those things hamper. Now to come back to those particular point, where how you can get multiple things done without actually doing multitasking, is that you need to address the trust factor. If you have a team, like office, if you have a team where you have a side hustle, or if you do not have a team, you need to address the trust factor either by technology, or by having a constant training to your staff. Uh, well, that's technology. What technology you will use for what kind of businesses? What are the trainings that require for the staff and all those things? That's a separate topic by itself. I'm not going to discuss this today, but what I mean to say that you need to address most important factor is the trust. Suppose you are doing one business, and you want to do another business. And the important point here is your time is limited. You cannot exceed. You will not. You're not rewarded with extra time in a day. So your time is limited, and so how you can maximize your time is that you can take. You can work on other people's time. So when you can work on others people's time, like you need to build those trust mechanism in your systems, in your processes, so that works will get automatically done by addressing those things. So that's one aspect of this thing. I can go on and on this trust factor, because today's day, when we have this blockchain technology, we have this internet of operations, iota, all those things. So these specifically will come to this world in probably next 5-6 years in the time, in a great way, and this specifically address those trust factor. And that's why we'll see that a lot of business will be automated. Because why they got automated? Because the people don't trust manual things, and they trust technology. So it depends on the kind of business that you are doing, and you can build on those trust issues and address those things. That's number one. Secondly, is that well, I'm not going to. Secondly, important point is just wait. Uh, um, Well, well, well. If you're doing two things, you need to have your focused block of times, right? How I manage my work is like I have three, four different things to do. I have a clearly dedicated focus work. First, I address the stress factor by by using technology. I mentioned that use online tools to keep you on track. And the last point you can see. And second, I do a lot of training to a lot of people who are engaged with me, and a constant kind of training which helps me to give my thought process to them. A lot of people do not train their people. They a lot of I have seen a lot of people, they don't want to delegate stuff. They don't want to train them. So what I mean to say that you should give whatever knowledge that you have in your mind to the person, so that they get upgraded themselves, and you need to reduce your workload and move on to the next level. So that's one thing. And second is that you should have a focused block of time. Suppose you are doing two projects, and if you dedicate 1 hour for that, 1 or 2 hour for that particular work, so you should not get distracted in between. So another important data point which I find out while doing this presentation is that 42%, 42.1% precisely of our time spent in a day by only communication. Communications means email communication, verbal communications, phone communication, anything kind of communications. Well, if you are into a leadership kind of role, if you are a business leader, if you're doing a business kind of leader, obviously the kind of business that requires you to talk to your clients and everything is I understood. But you can think on those lines and bring on technology or your resources, are you going to delegate and limit those communication time of yours. 42% of your time in a day goes for goes towards communication. It could be any kind of communication, right? WhatsApp is also communication, email is also communication. So you can actually delegate or synchronize those work time of yours, and you will find a lot of time coming out for your productive work. So when I say that create a focused block of time of yours in a one particular project that you're doing. Suppose you're doing three different kind of businesses, or you're doing a job and want to do a side hustle. So you for a side hustle, you keep 1 hour freeze every time, and in that 1 hour is non-negotiable for anyone to come in. Probably any personal staff or any email staff and all those things that should not be there. So that's one way of doing that thing. I normally do that. I completely switch off when I do one particular work. Even if the phone calls comes, I do not attend those calls. I have my mechanism where the phone call goes towards my team. So you use those, it will improve your productivity. Another thing which I say that work on a related task together, right? You need to revisit your work boundaries and see that how you can work those related tasks together. It's actually when you are doing a multitasking, a lot of people not able to do that because the time is limited. You find so many things to do, like so you're not going to get extra time, so you need to to do all those things which I'm mentioning out here. Learn to supervise, plan ahead. You all know this thing. Most of the people all this thing. You need to plan ahead. What I do every day in the morning is that I write down the like 5 projects. If I'm doing, I write down what I need to do in every project and what is the time frame that I allotted to each and every project. And that's why I work. And second thing, and another important aspects which I tell you from my personal experience is that if you are doing couple of things together, like if you're doing 3 4 businesses, one business, one side hustle, personal life always will be there for everyone. You need to take breaks. Breaks are absolutely necessary. Complete break from work. So you need to have some time in your week where you will not be discussing anything about a work. So as I said, as the first presentation, first sheet, I said that we normally think about a lot of things which nowhere related to our work. Those diagrams. So you need to take breaks, completely switch off from your work point, and that actually rejuvenate you to do more. Okay, and and last point is keep your another point is keep your brain sharp. So how you can make your brain sharp? You can make your brain sharp by uh, this is quite strange, right? Quite strange, but you need to do something. Suppose, say, for dancing, if you like dancing, if you like any sports activities, so that will actually make your brain sharp. How we can make brain sharp? So suppose if you are dancing and you are hearing the music, so that actually revisit your brain into something where you are doing a multitasking, but in a different way. So that practices your brain. Suppose you are into some sports, in a team sport, so that also kind of sharpening your brain. You're taking break, you're having relaxation, and you're doing multi. So you actually keep practicing that. Another thing important is that coffee addicts and all those things, which you all know, right? um, Observe impact of their so avoid distraction. Like, there is a list all interference around you, eliminate them one by one. Work in one area, or turn off your app notification, for instance. Observe the impact of the absence of your work. Well, another thing is that mobile phone today can be a lot of distractions, because we have those notifications coming in, we have the different kind of WhatsApp messages and all those things coming in, and that has to be totally switch off when you're in a work. Because if you're doing three four things together, you cannot have news coming in between, notification coming in between. You have to channelize all those things in a proper way, so that you get a lot of time and your brain is totally free from all distractions, and you can think in a leadership positions. Okay. All Another more important aspect is that, having said this thing, that's one point which I mean to mention, is that self-awareness is most important. A lot of people think that they can do a lot of things together, but they are actually not self-aware about the limits that they have. A lot of people can do four five things together. A lot of people cannot do four five things together. Well, there is no harm in saying I can do four five things together, but if you are not able to do that, one should know what is their limit, kind of thing. Okay. uh, that's one thing. And this is important part. This distinguish between urgent and important. Most of you might be knowing that Eisenhower's principle, that how you can actually do your work. You should do your work like, prioritize your work in a sequence. Like, first you do important and urgent, important and not urgent, not important and but urgent, and not important and not urgent. Like, so that's the kind of work you can distinguish between, and you can learn to concentrate. Those are the normal point, where you work on your willpower. Try some medications. Like medications, when I say that, so why these medications and willpower is important, is that when you do three four things together, you need to be in full control of your mind. You need to be full control of your thought process. You should not be getting into kind of debates, kind of shouting loudly, and getting into what I mean to say, that you need to have a full control of yourself, right? You need to be a peace of mind. You will not see, the one most important thing, you find that the most of the great leaders of India, they normally you will not see them getting into too much of kind of one-on-one, you know on a public domain, or discussing things which endlessly for time and again and again. So they think whatever they are in their mind, and they try to execute those things. So to increase your willpower and medications, what I say, that yoga is one thing, but is important. Medication, there's a lot of things that are available online also, teaching also. So that's important. So again, take notes and doodles. So it's normal thing of doing concentrations. And okay. So those, I think, couple of points, as I said. So if I jot down, if I summarize those points, I can only say that create a daily schedule with your dedicated time for focused work. Suppose you are into three different type of work, you need to have a dedicated focused work for them, where there should not be any distractions. So if you find that in a day you get a lot of distractions, and mind that 42% of your time, I'm sure, that went towards communication. You need to check that. You need to get more time of the 24 hours that you can have. Limit your email time and working burst. Check your communication time. That's why I say that, check your communication time. Limit your email time. Like email also, you can delegate. It can be automated, right? What are the emails that should come to you? What are the emails to come to your team member, and all those things? And even if you do not have a team member, there are a lot of tools which are available that can take care of those emails, kind of things, right? Not only email, your work area also. That's why actually you can make a lot of room for your work to do some other work. I said earlier, third point, block distracting content. Where when you want to focus, alternate period of focus and breaks. Optimize your work environment for focus. I talk about self-awareness. I talk about urgent from importance. I talk about concentration. Distraction. I talk about create focus block of time. Address trust. Learn to supervise. Plan ahead. Take breaks. Keep your brain sharp. Remove of the caffeine, and use online tools to keep you on track. On a nutshell, I mean to say that don't think of doing multitasking, right? It will be a disastrous or thing for you. But important thing is that learn how to switch from one work to another work. Like when you are the to switch from one work to another work, you need to find out in your day how you can increase your productive time in a day. So to increase your productive time in a day, you need to address, I'm sure that you need to address that how much time you're spending on communications, right? Today, how much time you're spending on communication, how you can actually address those particular points. And second important thing is that how you can address the trust factor. So if you can work on those two particular points, there are a lot of things can be discussed on those things. This is very difficult to say in 30 minutes times, and it's absolutely related to a completely self-awareness about who you are, and that you can do that thing. And so you can do that. So remove all distractions, focus on one work, suppose 1 hour, and then switch on to the another work, instead of doing 15 minutes one thing, 20 minutes another thing, and then again move to this thing and that thing. So you can actually do one work at a stretch and then move to another work. Remove all the distraction that comes in between. Set up the processes of trust and address the trust in your business, and move on to another business. There are a lot of entrepreneurs you will find, they do a business which they are not expertise on, they do not have skill sets on. You will not find Mukesh Ambani having a skill set on something, we'll say a technology. He doesn't know how to do coding and all those things, but he created those trust atmosphere, and he created those he manages for 50 different businesses. He created those time lag, and he created those time lag where he can address one business in a complete cool mind, and then they move on to another. He has those MIS systems, trust factors, timelines, dedicated workforce, training, and all those things where he can move to these things. So on a nutshell, don't think of doing multitask, but think on doing how you can switch, how you can address trust factor, how you can create a system and process in your businesses and start doing that. So if you are into a job willing to start a multitasking, don't think that it is going to you will have a lesser time if you do one another thing. We all get the same time. Even the Mukesh Ambani, one of the guy who is doing maximum kind of business doing today, they have the same time as we have. So you can do that. Just check the kind of work that you're doing, the kind of productive time that you're spending today, kind of system processes, technology, and tools that you're using today, and address the points which I mentioned right now.